new comedies, dramas. Here are the shows and their stars.
Phyllis hopes to find, by going to San Francisco, a cosmopolitan situation where she can keep growing, develop new friends, and enlarge her world.
Cloris Leachman has appeared in dozens of films, winning an Oscar for The Last Picture Show. For her television work, she has received 4 Emmys, 2 of them for the role of Phyllis on The Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Having killed off poor Lars,
We talked to her about the new Phyllis show in a Beverly Hills boutique.
I will now be more sympathetic and vulnerable, and people will worry more about me.
Mr. Carlson, my husband died over 3 weeks ago, and as yet I have not received any money from your company.
Well, I'm afraid that Lars is not entitled to any death benefits.
What does he have to do to qualify?
Phyllis is going to change in our new show because she's now going to have to find a way to take care of herself and live in the world of reality.
I knew Lars as a boy and as a man, and I always thought he was one of the most generous, considerate, thoughtful, kind, and decent men I'd ever known.
Oh, go suck an egg.
I think Phyllis will fall apart alternately and survive alternately and scream and cry and then get up and look for some way to solve the problem.
Phyllis.
In celebration of the holidays with my own family at Tucker Inn.
Sarah, you made Grandma's Black Forest cake.
You know, I haven't had that fresh taste in years.
Made Grandma's topping, too.
It's Cool Whip.
It's not Grandma's homemade topping.
Taste it.
Well, this fresh taste reminds me of
Grandma's homemade.
Grandma would have been proud of you. Cool Whip non-dairy whipped topping tastes as fresh as homemade.
Mrs. S. Claus for Jell-O brand gelatin.
Today I'm going to show you how to make a holiday dessert that's so quick you can make it anytime. Place dark sweet cherries in glasses. Dissolve cherry flavor Jell-O gelatin in your blender. Add crushed ice and blend. Pour and chill, and it layers all by itself. Here you are, dear.
See this recipe in December women's magazines. For holiday desserts any day, start with Jell-O gelatin.
Sitcom, all ye faithful, a Christmas podcast special. And for the 5th time I discussed 25 Christmas sitcom episodes. Please come and listen as we count down to Christmas. You should see Mr. Wilson, Tom Hanks, and Danny Thomas. Sherman Hemsley will return, and we head back to Springfield. We're definitely spending Christmas in Springfield.
Christmas!
Who makes the thought surrounding the Golden Gate simply disappear?
Phyllis. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Friday, December 5th, which means it's day 5 of Sitcom, all ye faithful. And for the 5th day in a row, I am here talking Christmas sitcoms to you, and yes, even you. Today, I am going back to the 1970s, which means I think as of today, I've covered every decade from the 50s, the 60s, 70s, and the 80s, and the 90s. Not in order. Not at all. We did 50s, 90s, 60s, 80s, 70s. We're bouncing around. But we've stayed in the 20th century so far. I'm sure that will change. It's just kind of worked out that for the first 5 days thus far, we've stayed in the 20th century. And today, I'm going back to a very special year, to the year 1976. And why is this special? Because 1976 was the first year ya boy Mikey had a Christmas. Now, yes, I was only 4 months or so years old, so I don't remember the best gift I got, or if I got any gift. I probably got a ton of gifts, but they were all crap for babies, stuff that I couldn't use because I was a baby, stuff that was used, my parents used it for me, or, useless stuff. Stuff that it's not stuff I could collect, not stuff that I could play with. It was just stuff, because what am I, 4 months old? It's stuff. I probably got a lot of cute little toys. Oh, look how cute. And then it's just, I'm just a lump of flesh next to toys. The toys did nothing for me. Maybe I put some stuff in my mouth. Maybe I grabbed, look, he has dexterity. He can use things. I mean, oh, look, it's a spoon. He can use it to eat. I mean, I don't know what I got for toys on my first Christmas, but I do know a present that I got this year, and that is going back to 1976 to see a season 2 episode of the Cloris Leachman starring sitcom Phyllis. At this point in Cloris Leachman's career, she's already well known for the Mary Tyler Moore Show, which is this character that she has taken to her own show. And of course, she already won an Oscar. She's already been in Young Frankenstein. But for kids my age, I think a lot of them could say that their first exposure to Cloris Leachman, their first Cloris Leachman, I know her. She's from Facts of Life, right? Remember, she took over for Mrs. Garrett when Mrs. Garrett died in that explosion when they found out Edna's Edibles was actually a meth lab. I to be honest, it's been a while since I've seen Facts of Life, so I don't remember if that's exactly how the transition happened. But I know she came in. I think it became a store. Mackenzie Aston showed up. Maybe George Clooney was there. Maybe he was there before. And time, just life went on with the 4 girls from Facts of Life, who I think were just living in college up until their 40s, maybe. I don't remember. But I do remember that Cloris Leachman was there, and she went to Australia with them. Maybe she went to London with them. I knew her primarily from that. Then I discovered that she was in Young Frankenstein. And those were the 2 big things that I knew her from, and I just knew her from being Cloris Leachman. I never had really any exposure to the Mary Tyler Moore Show. I didn't even really know there was a show called Phyllis, maybe in my youth. I mean, later on, yes, I think I saw that there was a show in the 70s called Phyllis starring Cloris Leachman. But for me, this is her second time on Sitcom All You Faithful, because she also came back in her later years in the show Raising Hope, where she was hilarious. She played the great-grandmother of the main character. And she really was this funny old lady. And what's crazy is you look at this show here, and Phyllis, I don't know if she's supposed to be middle-aged. I don't know whatever she is, she's got a grown daughter. And she is pretty much my age, my wife's age. That's what we're at. And I'm like, that's, she always looks like Cloris Leachman, but when I'm watching her, I'm like, she's actually pretty young here. But I mean, I say that in the hopes that my wife and I are still pretty young, and I'd like to think we are. We're not, but we're Phyllis's age, which sounds weird when you're like, I'm the same age as Cloris Leachman was while she was parading around an office Christmas party back in 1976. Now, I didn't know what to expect from this show at all. I didn't know anything. I've seen a couple episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I say that meaning that I've seen the episode that I talked about in Sitcom All You Faithful many years ago. I don't know if I've seen another episode, okay? It's embarrassing to a degree, but it's the truth. So I had no idea. I don't know anything about her character. I didn't know that she was a widow, and then, that's why they killed off her husband, and that's why she moves to San Francisco to be back with her daughter and her husband's parents. So she moves in with her in-laws. I did see that. What I was surprised, I'd have to say, is that the series only lasted 2 seasons. I was sure it was going to be 80 episodes and 100 episodes on for 4 or 5 years. It was only 2 years before it got canceled. They almost canceled it after the first year. I was reading that it was the first season was very different. So, and this is from Wikipedia, so, forgive me, but I'm sure it's 100% accurate. She moves in with her in-laws, and she takes a job as an assistant in a photographic studio. I would say photography studio, but that's how they wrote it. And my first thought was, that's not what I'm seeing in this season. They retooled the whole thing in the second episode. They had, it was a photography studio, and it looks like much of the show's humor was Phyllis's attempt to fit into the job market, having lived for many years as the spoiled wife of a rich dermatologist. Again, I had no idea that was anything, because none of that we see in this episode, because at the end of season 1, I guess ratings were beginning to slip. Now, by that, they probably meant only 15 million people were watching. As a result, the series premise was reworked for the second season. They got rid of the photography studio, completely dropped it with the explanation that, I guess the character left and sold the studio. And then she gets hired as an assistant to the San Francisco city supervisor. So now she works for the city supervisor, this guy, Dan Valenti, Mr. Valenti, Carmen Caridi, who was in a couple of the Godfather movies. And also there's a politician in the office who was the best part of this show, Leonard Marsh, and his secretary. And I guess they're secretaries. And at first they were dueling secretaries, but then they became friends. Everyone seemed to be friends in here. So there's a shared office between a city supervisor who was hard-nosed and a politician who was goofy. And that's what I got out of it. And I'm watching this going, this works. This is funny. Then she has the home life of her in-laws, and her mother-in-law is completely kooky, zany, says some really dumb things. Very funny. I thought I should think very funny, but it was a funny concept, and it made me smile. And then there's the mother-in-law's mother. Oh no, I'm sorry. The mother-in-law's mother-in-law, the Mother Dexter, who was this very, very old woman who I guess was very funny. And you could see this woman was so old that her line readings weren't even that they weren't perfect, but she was getting the lines out as best she could. And it was kind of funny. And the people liked her, and they made her a series regular. And then I read that the episode I watched aired after this woman's death. So they brought this woman in. They even had her get married in an episode to another character on the show. And within a couple months, both of those people in real life passed away. So I'm watching an episode that aired posthumously. I think that's the right word. After this woman's passing. I guess what I read is there were episodes of her that ran all the way through February, and then I think they finally addressed it at that point. Again, the show only lasted 2 years. And then I'm reading the woman who plays the other secretary there was a different actor who came in for the first 3 episodes, but then she was shot and killed outside of her acting class. I'm like, what the hell? The 70s in LA must have been crazy. I found some of the behind the scenes stuff, reading about that and the fact that the show only lasted 2 seasons, and they basically redid it completely for season 2. And then once it was canceled, they brought her back for the final episode of Mary Tyler Moore. But I just found that part of that stuff as interesting as watching the show itself. And even right away at the opening theme song, it's this whole song about how wonderful Phyllis is. Who can do this and who can do that? Blah, 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 blah. And it says, Phyllis. It's a little over the top, corny, and she's walking around San Francisco. But it was all for a setup, for a joke at the end, because it says all these wonderful things. Who can do this? Who can do this? And then it says, Phyllis.
It sure isn't you.
So the whole thing was a setup to say all these wonderful things and who can do this and who can do that. And Phyllis, well, it isn't you. And Cloris Leachman, she's enjoying herself. And then she just looks right in the camera what? It's not me. And I thought that was actually very well done. But what threw me off this time was when I went on YouTube just to watch the opening credits. I missed the first time that I watched this. And the way I watched it was actually pretty interesting too. But I missed the first time I watched this, that at the very beginning, when you hear the guys go, hoo, and they're singing, they show these guys all in, they're in a black tuxedo, they have black pants, they have a black jacket, they have a black top hat, but they also seem to have black face. And I did not notice that the first time. And I'm like, what the absolute F? Now, nothing made me more, nothing shocked me more than in the 90s, maybe it was the late 80s, seeing a David Lee Roth video with little people. I'm pretty sure there were little people in blackface dancing around. And this was like late 80s. And I'm like, this is like David Lee Roth wasn't completely like shamed out of the industry. I mean, he shamed himself kind of out of the industry for being, David Lee Roth. But like there was never anything from that. And I guess this is 1976. I'm sure like nobody said, maybe we shouldn't put this at the beginning. I think, I read it. Then I looked it up, like, am I crazy? Am I out of my mind? But I saw something mention that it was from like an old, I can't find the actual thing that talked about where it was from, but there was like an old film. So it's not, they didn't shoot these actors, and say, let's have this opening like this. I guess it was showing old clips of old movies. But what the absolute F? Like, I cannot believe that is something. It's okay. I found it on KennethInThe212.com. It's a blogger blog, but they were talking about the theme from Phyllis, and it shows the opening and closing themes. And someone commented, I've seen Phyllis in syndication over the years, but I didn't remember the kneeling chorus in blackface at the beginning of the opening credits. The clip is taken from the end of the Waiting for Robert E. Lee sequence in Babes on Broadway. Yeah, okay, that seems about all the name of this, everything there seems right. Like, wow. And nobody thought, why don't we do something else? Why don't we get the Rockettes or something? Like, I mean, that was remarkable. It's just remarkable. And I had no semblance, like, okay, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. It's about 10:30 p.m. on Friday night. I watched this at about 8 a.m. this morning, and I didn't get a chance to record until tonight. But I had no, like, this was not going to be a discussion at all until I went back to get the theme song. And then I'm watching the credits again going, what the F am I looking at here? It was jarring, to say the least. And you can see these opening credits in my show notes. There is a link. Now, what was interesting, what I thought was kind of cool, I'm trying to separate myself from being jarred by those opening credits. But what was kind of cool is that I found on YouTube, fuzzymemories.tv, the Museum of Classic Chicago Television, has a full airing of this episode, The Christmas Party, it's the season 2, episode 13 from December 20th, 1976. They have the original airing, the complete broadcast with all the commercials from KNXT, which is an LA CBS network, the full thing, and it's like 32 minutes long. If you go to the show notes on the website, you can actually see the video embedded. If you're on your podcast app, there's a link to watch this full video. But you'll see, I mean, it is like, you don't have to wait very long. There's a promo at the beginning for, for KNXT. Then it jumps right into the theme song, and you see those faces. And it's like, what the F? But what I'm shook from seeing that. But the enjoyable things is all the commercials that were included. It was fun to see it as a broadcast at the time. So there were 2 Christmas commercials that aired like during the show. And there weren't that many commercial breaks really for a 35-minute show. Maybe there were 3 breaks. It felt like there should have been more. It felt like nowadays you get 22 minutes a show and more commercial breaks. But there was the Cool Whip topping and the cherry Jello, which, by the way, that cherry Jello seems like a recipe that I want to try right now. One of my other favorite things to do with Jello is if you take a Sprite and make your Jello with Sprite, it gives a little zip to it. But what I thought was interesting in that cherry Jello commercial was like, it's good. It's available in women's magazines, not magazines for the man, but women's magazines. So there are also commercials. If you watch this airing, that you have commercials for Revlon, for Anacin, which is I was like, that's an old pain reliever. No, it's still around. You get a commercial for MASH, for Raisin Bran, for Maytag, Citizens watches, Chanel number 5. There's a AIM toothpaste commercial where a guy is very easily sold on switching his toothpaste. He's like, some of these kids with these new gel, what's going on here? And then there's the beginning, like the moments of the opening credits of the show that airs after Phyllis. But I don't want to say what that is just yet because I like to go back to the day, December 20th, 1976, and talk about what was on the air that evening. We don't have a full slate of what was on ABC and NBC. We have a little bit. On ABC at 8 p.m. from 9 to 9 p.m. was the Captain and Tennille, right? Captain and Tennille. Like, I can't think of the captain. I feel like there was one captain and 20 Tennilles. I could be wrong. And then on NBC, there was a brand new episode of Little House on the Prairie. But all we care about is CBS. And it seems like CBS from 8 to 9:30 is spinoff night. Because at 8 o'clock is Rhoda, which is one of the spinoffs from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Then at 8:30, there's Phyllis, which is, of course, what we're talking about today. And 9 p.m. is Maude, a spinoff from All in the Family. But I'm looking at TV Tango right now, and there seems to be some discrepancies here because they say Phyllis is airing a different episode this evening, and they're saying that the Christmas party, this is according to TV Tango, aired on December 27th. But that doesn't make any sense. That's after Christmas. And everything I see on IMDb and on epguides.com is saying that the Christmas party aired on December 20th. So I'm going with that as the correct answer, December 20th. And I don't know if I can log in and access if it's a Wikipedia that allows you to edit this, but I might send a suggestion to TV Tango because I've been using them for years and I've been relying on their accuracy, and now I'm not so sure. But it does say that that Phyllis was on that evening, so I'm going to stick with it. And Maude, but Maude wasn't the episode. This is Maude here says Walter's Christmas Gift. That's not the Maude episode that I covered. The Maude episode that I covered was called The Christmas Party, which again just happens to be the episode of Phyllis that we're covering today. Now, what is the Christmas party? Well, let's get into the actual episode. So Phyllis is at her house decorating for Christmas with her in-laws, and she's ready to spend Christmas with everyone. And they're all like, screw off, Phyllis, we're out of here, because her in-laws are going to Hawaii. They were going to decide between going to Hawaii and Mexico. There's some jokes going on there. The guy takes off his jacket and shows a Hawaiian shirt. She goes, ooh, we're going to Mexico. He goes, no, we're going to Hawaii. So she was kind of ditzy. There's some interesting thing with the mother shows up and she's funny. But really the gist of the story is that they're not going to be around. But that's okay because she can be with her and her daughter, and that's fine. And her daughter shows up. Now, at first, I wasn't sure if it was her daughter because she called her Phil. Then she called her mom. And it turns out that her daughter is going skiing. And Phil's like, that is great. I want to go skiing too. She's like, oh, sorry, lady. None of the other parents are coming. She goes, oh, that's okay. But I didn't know you were going to be alone on Christmas. So she's a widow. Your father's passed, and you're not going to spend time with your mother on Christmas. Look, I'm all for, you want your kids to go have an experience and stuff. And I'm saying this by not having any kids of my own. But at the same time, I'm like, no, you have to spend time. You have to be with your family on Christmas Day. Like there was a year my wife and I lived in Florida during the holidays, and we still flew back to be with our family on Christmas. But Phyllis's daughter, ready to fly off the coop and run off and go skiing with a bunch of other young people. But Phyllis is like, you know what? That's fine. I still have my people at work. So she goes to work and she starts talking to people and she's like, what time's the Christmas party? They're like, what Christmas party? We don't have a Christmas party. Like, then I guess we're just going to have to throw one. So this is what I got from Wikipedia. So she's in the office with, she's the secretary for this city council dude or supervisor. And then Harriet, the actress's name is Garn. Harriet is the secretary for Leonard Marsh, who, again, was the best part of this show. Just like a silly kind of goofball. I'm trying to think, like, he doesn't look like this guy at all, but you know, like in Silver Spoons, Ricky Stratton's dad, is it Edward Stratton? I don't know. I think he had the train. He was like a big man child. He had that same energy. I'll say that. And he's like, well, why don't we're going to have to throw one. And she's like, I'll throw one and I'll organize it. Like, she's all excited to organize and she's planning all these things. And then her boss comes out and goes, what are you planning? Christmas party. He goes, we don't have time for a Christmas party. He was like, he seemed to be the most responsible politician ever. He goes, the people pay for us for work, and that's what we're going to work. We're not going to spend any of the people's money on a Christmas party. And so he was a stickler for this, and we're going to work right up into the Christmas moment. So it turns out that the other guy's like, well, we're going to have a Christmas party. Because you can have a Christmas party all you want on your side. Oh, that's right. The politician was like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to demand we're going to have a Christmas party. And then he knocks on the door and the guy opens it and he just gets right up to him and he goes like, why can't we have a Christmas party? Like, again, he like hit his face. It was quite funny. I'm not doing it justice. Again, watch the video. It's on YouTube. You know, maybe skip those first 10 seconds of the theme song. But he was really good. And I don't know John Lawler at all. You know, he just has a funny face, like a face that just looks funny. He was in Wyatt Earp. Okay. He was in a second unit assistant director for the movie Highlander. Interesting. He is, you know, he's no longer with us. He actually passed away this year. Oh my goodness gracious. So he was an assistant director on things in a while. Interesting. I guess the guy's acted up until the late 2010s. He was in something called Godless, a TV miniseries. He's been around. He was in an episode of Breaking Bad. I don't know him from anything though. He was in Facts of Life. He was in Facts of Life for a little bit. I'm trying to look at what he's been on that maybe a lot of it. Like, I like to look at IMDb and see, he's been on 20 episodes of, 4 episodes of Knots Landing, 4 episodes of The Bold and the Beautiful. They don't know what they have here. Okay, he was in the first season he was like one of maybe the board directors or something in Facts of Life in the first season or the first couple of seasons. 13 episodes of that, 25 episodes of Phyllis. So that's really what he's known for, I guess. He was the best. He was my favorite part of this entire show. So, and the fun part of the show when the show is actually kicks on is that she can't have the party. This office is small, so there's literally a line down the middle, and everyone's partying on her side, and she's working on her side. But like they'll send a drink over on a little motorized train. She'll drink it, and then the boss will come out and she's working, and then he looks away and she drinks something else, and then comes out and she's working. It was funny. It was just like, it was silly. It was very like of the time 70s sitcom humor, and it just worked. At one point, she's like, I need to get the files, but they're on that side. He goes, okay, just go over there and come back. So she literally walks through the party. Some guy spins her around. Another guy dips her and kisses her. Another person gives her a drink. She sips it. She gets to where she needs to go. She comes back. They do the exact same thing reverse. And then she walks right into the office without skipping a beat. It was a really like great moment. And, you know, I'm sure the audience, if it was filmed in front of a live audience, laughed at that because that was well done. Got all the applause. And at the end, the boss finally yells at her he catches her partying because she's singing Christmas carols. She can't help herself. And she gives it to him. She gives him a Christmas gift, but gives him the old bit, funny business, like how, this is Christmas and this is what it's about. And then at the end, he comes out and he's wearing the sweater she bought him, and it's all way too tight. And he goes, you know what? I'm sorry. And I'm in the Christmas spirit, and they all enjoy the party. And that's pretty much how the episode ends. Except we do go back to her house. It's funny when she's back at her house, she's in like a red robe, and I was fully expecting something to happen, like one of her boss to come out of the room, like they they partied all night long, but that didn't happen. She's back there and she's talking to her daughter, and she's like, wait a minute, is she talking to her daughter? I think she's back at the house, and she decides she's not going to open Christmas gifts until Christmas Day. That's how it's done. So she goes to bed. Then she comes back, takes the clock, winds the clock so it's already past midnight, and she goes, you know what? Merry Christmas, and she opens up her gifts, and that's how the episode ends. Cloris Leachman is a comic, like a legend. She was great in this. You know, it was fine. It wasn't like anything like world breaking, world changing or anything like that, but it was funny. And I can only imagine what the ratings were that caused it to be canceled. I'm sure every network in America would die to have their worst rating on their worst episode. But this was a good one. It was very funny. You take away those first 10 seconds of the theme song, and you have the whole thing was very enjoyable. Even down to the way the theme song was building up Phyllis, but nope, it's not you. So I thought that was really just well done, just well done. So that is it. I think I nailed it. I think I'm done. But that just means one thing. That means I'll be back again tomorrow to do it again. So until then, you can follow me on all the socials at Geek Mentality, except for TikTok, which is Geek Mentality Mike. The Facebook page is Fans Not Experts. The YouTube channel is Fans Not Experts. That's because the website is fansnotexperts.com. That's where you will find all the podcasts I do. And I think I pretty much covered it. And I will be back again tomorrow to do this all over again. But until then, thank you all for listening. Thank you all for subscribing. Thank you all for following. Thank you all for liking. And I will see you tomorrow. But until then, here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe, 'cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time, and I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Fans Not Experts.